well, yeah, so we're going to move on to our final topic. Basically what everyone has been talking about. When did it come out? Last
It's
Thursday?
been about a week.
Wednesday?
Yeah, so
About a
right at
week?
a week.
So again, there will be no spoilers when talking about God of War Ragnarok here. Well, no final ending spoilers, because me and Phoenix haven't gotten there. But we did want to at least put our general impressions of everything up until maybe the last 2 or 3 hours. But yeah, Phoenix, I'll let you go ahead and start. What are you thinking so far? How are you enjoying it?
I am enjoying it. I feel like I kind of need to lay groundwork and kind of my feelings about new God of War. I will say, and I think I already said it, if you had any doubt that this was going to be a good game, you shouldn't need to worry about that. This is an
Yeah.
excellent game at just about every metric you could measure a game by. Graphics are excellent, narrative is excellent. Like everything about this is quality through
Well,
and
I
through.
mentioned it previously. Santa Monica makes quality. They make quality games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't let that be a concern that, oh, this is somehow going to be a dud by Santa Monica, because it's not. Now, does that mean you're going to love this game? I think it's going to depend on how much you like God of War 2018, because for better or for worse, this is God of War 2018, just more of it. And that's something I've heard kind of reiterated, and you really feel it as you play the game. This doesn't feel like a sequel. This is a just direct continuation. Like I could have imagined like finishing, the ending of God of War 2018 and just immediately start this game. I mean, I'm sure there are changes, like some gameplay loops have probably been adjusted, combat's been tweaked some, but this is the same game through and through from a narrative perspective, even graphical fidelity. It looks the same. The art direction, of course, hasn't changed at all between it. And none of that's necessarily a bad thing. If you loved God of War 2018, you're really going to love Ragnarok.
Graphically, graphically, I feel like it looks a touch better, but man, it
Well,
is
it's
hard to
it's
tell.
better. Okay, so technically it's
Yeah.
better. It's the next generation. If you're playing on PS5 with all the bell and whistles, of course it's better. But when you look at these games from an art direction standpoint, and you also think God of War 2018 was not a bad looking game, and it just got re-released on PC with extra bells and whistles. So comparing those two games now, they both look incredible. So I think there's pretty good consistency between the graphical fidelity between both of them.
Mhm.
My point being is it really is going to depend how much you love 2018. And I'll tell you, I enjoyed God of War 2018. I was not in the camp of this is a masterpiece game back in the day. I mean, I don't know how you felt about it. I think you talked a little bit about it when you finished 2018. Like, how did you feel about the newest
I
God of War?
I felt like it was a really good, amazing. I loved it. I just felt like it. Like I remember seeing a lot of the discourse around it was that it was the best God of War game. I still say it was. It is not. I think God of War 3, in my opinion, is still the best God of War game, in my opinion. Granted,
Mm,
but yeah, I would say so far with this game, it. I would say this game is making me like 2018 a little bit more.
mm-hmm. That's fair.
I feel like this one's still fun. It's still really good. But I will say, unlike the previous one, this game is starting to run me a little to the point where I'm like, all right, you know, me and you are what, about 20 hours in already, and it's
Yeah, I'm at the
like
30 mark.
at the 30 mark. How are you at 30? I'm at like
I
22,
I did a lot of
20,
side
20.
quests up at the
Oh, I
beginning.
see. Okay, I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I kind of get it.
To be
Oh,
fair, I think we were both trying to rush it, so we're probably feeling that, hey, we both were trying to finish this game prior to this podcast and just couldn't do it. There's too much game here if you're trying to rush
all right.
through it.
Before I continue, I just wanted to add in. I missed Lencho in chat. He did say when it came to the Game Awards, he just wanted to say, "I've never heard of it. Where do they put the Game Awards?" Basically, whenever it comes around, it is on YouTube. It's a lot of streaming. Back in the day, it was mainly on like Spike TV and G4.
Mm.
But yeah, just look online
No more
whenever it comes
G4.
around. No more G4. Yeah, they
Womp
went
womp.
they went bye bye for the second or third time.
Before we go too deep into the new game, I do want to just backtrack for a minute. 'Cause I don't think I really gave my rationale for why I didn't love
Oh,
2018 as much.
can I just throw in Lencho's
Yes.
last?
Oh, of course. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
his last comment was that he just said when it came to the Game Award talk, he just said, "I really enjoyed Forza's latest Horizon," which
Oh yeah,
a lot of
Forza
people really
Horizon was
like that,
really
but I
good.
think that was from last year.
It was. They did put out the Hot Wheels DLC this year though, so I think
Oh
that
yeah.
might make it kind of fresh.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay,
anyways,
sorry. Go ahead.
so just to kind of reframe it, the reason I didn't love 2018 as much, and I'm sure it's a lot of nostalgia bias. I'm kind of in the same camp with you. That original trilogy, like that style of God of War game, is kind of what I grew up with. And I didn't play as much of 2 and 3. I played a lot of 1 though. Like I probably played God of War 1 like 4 or 5 times. So that super fast, brisk combat, the pace of how you just kind of run through these environments and you're attacking stuff left and right, almost like a Devil May Cry kind of game. To me, that was always God of War. So when I got to 2018, the pacing just like tanked. Because for one, it's a slower...
I feel like that's even worse in this game.
I disagree. I disagree with that.
I think this game's far slower.
Oh, I don't think so. But I'll come back to that. Point being is like 2018 dropped. First, I felt it, not just like the narrative. I knew that was going to slow down because the way they're kind of interacting with, Atreus and him to kind of have their father-son bonding moments. But the gameplay, like the combat was so much slower in the original God of War. Like, I like the axe. The axe is a lot of fun, but it is slow and it's very deliberate. And granted, I'm not saying that's a bad design decision. Like, it has a very different feel, but I was very conflicted with that for a long time with that game because I wanted it faster.
Once you get the blades in 2018, you're like, okay.
They came too late, though, for me. And that was kind of my point. By the time the blades came out, I'd already kind of relegated to how I need to play the game with the axe. And I already wasn't enjoying the combat as much because of that. Granted, that's on me. That's probably just once again, nostalgia bias and me not giving it a fair shake back then. And although when the blades came, that was nice. It was kind of like a throwback to the original game. They didn't really feel like the original Blades of Chaos. They were a little off. They weren't quite as quick. You saw that, really tight camera, which made it awkward. And I feel like they just came too late. I was already kind of locked into how I was going to play that game. This game, Ragnarok, I feel like does a much better job because instead of waiting to give you that faster combat option, you start with it. Like, you have the option right at the beginning. You have the axe, but then you also have the blades. So you have time to really spend with the blades early on to kind of get used to that quick move set. And then I feel like you have an option. It's not that you're stuck with a slower combat choice with the axe. You get to choose depending on the combat encounter. Do I want to be really fast with the blades? Do I want to mix it with the axe for a couple of enemies and go back and forth? And I thought that really helped pick up the pacing of the combat in this game. Maybe enjoy it a lot more.
Perhaps. I mean, me personally, I still really like, gamer, feel free to budge in if you want. But I still really enjoy the fact that like when you do get the axe when you do get the blades in 2018, it very much is that it symbolizes that whole Kratos having to revert to his previous ways, which I like. It was a cool moment thematically.
Yes,
and
I'll say that was what I did really enjoy about 2018. Like, the combat for me felt a little flat, which also kind of discouraged me from wanting to do all of the side quests. But the narrative was great, like the themes that they were kind of playing on, and like the moments they would build up, like where they built to that moment where they reveal the Blades of Chaos. Like, that's what pulled me through God of War 2018 was the narrative and thematic choices. This game, though, not only do I think does a really good job from a narrative standpoint, but in this game, the gameplay is actually kind of hooked me in finally. So I'm enjoying it much more. I know you're going to talk about it too, but the other thing that's helped me kind of appreciate or have a speedier gameplay option, the Atreus sections, which I know you're going to have some negative things to say about some of it, but the combat when you play as Atreus, honestly, I almost like it more than when you play as Kratos. Like, it's so quick. Like, the parrying mechanic is so much better. Like, I always found it super annoying to have to parry with the axe because you have to be super deliberate. Like, if you're not planning for your parry, you're going to miss it and get your butt kicked. But with Atreus, like, I could just, like, really reactionary, just kind of press that block button. I could press, like, twice and be able to parry things quicker than I ever could with the axe. So I like those faster combat options. That's just me personally, but that helped.
I agree. I actually, when it comes to his mechanics, when it comes to his gameplay, I actually think it's pretty fun to play as Atreus. Like, that is the positive when it comes to him. My still problems with the Atreus sections and the game as a whole is just like, I just don't think he's that interesting of a character, and I don't want to say he's not that interesting, but Kratos to me is overly.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm cutting you off.
No, you're right. He's overly dramatized, and
he's overly naive. Fine. He's really hard to relate to. Is my problem with him.
Yes.
And granted, okay, he's a kid. He's supposed to be naive, but it's coming down to like a fault almost, where you're like, come on, kid. Like, I don't want to go into a lot of spoilers, but there's decisions that Atreus makes that you're just like, really? Even if he's a 13-year-old kid, considering who he's been raised by and everything going on, like, these are just dumb decisions, and nobody around.
Like, coming off of 2018, you're like, you would think you would know.
You would know better, yeah.
Know better after all that. It's just
He's
yeah.
like, you know, a hopeful optimist with everything, and that's not the world that they've set up in either of these two games. This is a pretty brutal, sometimes, you know, hopeless kind of situation you're in a lot of these
Mhm.
scenarios. So, I mean, it's nice that he's upbeat, but it also doesn't play well, in my opinion. Like, he is too naive, I think, to really rally behind. And maybe that was a conscious decision. They want you to have some kind of conflict there, but I feel like they wanted you to kind of relate to Atreus during some of those sections, and I don't always do so, just because of the way he's kind
And
of
it's
interacting.
and it's not even ultimately his final decision to go join Odin. Into spoilers again.
Man, you
He
just like said no spoilers, and you just freaking jumped to the biggest spoiler,
well,
man.
well, I
Ruined.
didn't mean I didn't
Sorry,
mean.
everybody. Sorry, Lin Show. We just ruined God of
Uh,
War for you.
well, he's Lencho's been watching my stream. He knows,
Oh.
but yeah. I wanted to bring that up because like I felt like that aspect of the plot is understandable. Like when he finds out, you know, about what's Kratos' fate and when he wants to try and turn all of that, it makes sense he'd be willing to go through certain lengths. But there are other decisions he makes though that are like, why? Like I don't know. You get what I'm saying.
I do.
There's
I
other
don't
things
know.
beyond that.
And without getting too deep into any of it, it's hard to really, you know, overly rationalize why I don't agree with some of his choices, but I think they're pretty dumb. Even like I think
Hmm.
a kid nowadays, I think would look at this situation, wouldn't make the decisions he's making for whatever reason. So,
And this game, when it comes to the whole like people keeping secrets from one another trope, it's like, dude, you have been going on this trope for so
hmm,
long. Have these characters still not figured out that keeping secrets from one another
yeah,
is
they're a little contrived just for plot convenience sake. It feels like
dude, it's
sometimes.
beyond contrived. It's like they every chapter is like that where like there's some it's like I need to be open with Atreus. Where did you go, boy? And like they're just constantly people
Hmm.
talking about secrets and stuff and I don't know.
And to be fair, I mean, this is getting a little nitpicky. Like, I don't want any of this to come across like, you know, the game is poorly written or the narrative is bad, because it's not. I just think in general there are some, you know, decisions these characters are making that makes it a little hard to relate to them sometimes for XYZ reason.
And they almost I feel like they try and play off of the whole he's Loki, therefore he's mischief he's the god of mischievous or
I don't feel
mischievousness
like
and
he's really
trickery.
mischievous. He's just
But
disobedient.
no, I agree I'm saying, but I feel like that's like they would be their explanation as to why he keeps so many secrets and stuff. It's like,
Well, no,
no.
because that's not his rationale for why he's keeping the secrets. He's doing them because he's trying to be loyal to characters he's met and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I think my problem is like Atreus takes everything he does just at face value. There's like no thought put into what could be happening. Like the way he trusts Odin towards the end of it, and he argues that he wasn't really that trusting. But come on,
Hmm.
he was like just he was all in for a little while with stuff.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I find that just annoying that he doesn't take all this context into account and be like, well, this is probably a little awkward. Maybe I shouldn't be, you know, following through with this the way I am. I don't know.
It's like, well, all you've been doing for two games now is sitting on a boat with Mimir, listening to Mimir tell every single story about how this god Odin has killed everyone you know, and you still are willing to like join him and try and help him solve even just one or two secrets. It's like, come on, like I don't know, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah. Well,
you
his
should
whole
know
thought
that.
is like, oh, well, Atreus, he thinks he's smart enough that he's not, he can pull one over on Odin, which is just like the most naive thing. Maybe a 13-year-old really would think that he's going to be smarter than, you know, the all father of the Norse realms. But I don't know. To me, it just comes across pretty disingenuous. But
Yeah, I honestly I feel like when it comes to the mechanics and how the game operates, I don't, again, it's very similar to 2018. I don't think it's necessary to like. I mean, it. I feel like they add some mechanics, especially when it comes to like the spear and stuff that you kind of get later in the
mm,
game. But for the most part, a lot of the stuff is similar. You know how you kind of like discovering certain things and enemy types. I mean, it's all.
Yeah, this game is I don't want to say it's the same as 2018 because there are differences, but the gameplay loop is essentially the same. The way you explore, the pacing of the narrative, where it kind of brings you down to those slow moments where you're either in a boat or a sled, just talking to the other character, to branch off on these little hub worlds to do a small little explorative puzzle. Like, it's the exact same gameplay loop you had in 2018. So if you're coming into this game expecting something completely different, you're not going to get that here. But I don't think you really should be. Like, honestly, I think this is the better game thus far. I mean, I haven't beaten it up to the very ending kind of narrative standpoint, but everything I've played about this game so far, I have enjoyed more than God of War 2018. Part of that's the combat. Part of it too is I am really digging just what they're doing with certain characters in this game. Like the last game was a much smaller story. It was really just about Atreus and Kratos. But I love the way they represent like Thor and Odin in this game. Like they're such cool representations of these characters and so different. And it's really kind of helped me reframe like how I look at like Norse mythology. Like we know Thor and Loki from like MCU and like classic Norse mythology, and then you see him here and it's a completely different relationship and behavior, which is really cool. That's that unique way they've kind of taken that mythology and represented it here.
So I want to ask Gamer a question. So, Gamer, how many God of War games have you played?
Only like two, not even
Do you
like
like the
one and a half.
do you like the Kratos character in the games
I
you play?
do. I
Okay.
do.
So,
That's why I'm really intrigued. I'm like, man, now I want to play it.
well, so
Like I love that fast
Well,
action
one of the
nonsense.
one of the big draws with the suspense in this game is that at the end of 2018 they learn a prophecy about Kratos. Again, if this is all spoilers, I don't want to spoil. Are you okay me continuing
I
on with some of
don't
the
care.
prophecies?
When I play it, I'll
Okay.
be like, whoa, that's cool. But yeah,
One of the prophecies that he and the boy learn is that
boy.
Kratos is going to die. And
Sure.
so far, again, we haven't finished the game, but so far everything is looking like it's going to follow the prophecy. And I just wanted to ask, like, would you be interested in God of War 2025 if it has Kratos dead and you play as Atreus?
Well, it depends on like the direction that they're taking boy, pretty much.
Yeah,
Like like Kratos is like one of those characters. Is like, yo, this guy's a boss. Like
yeah,
he's
yeah.
destroyed like everything. He's so freaking cool. Like it's different. It's a completely different like persona as opposed to the kid.
Because
It's just like different.
I just feel like for me, yeah, I kind of would like to see where they go, but I would just say for me, I don't want to play as Atreus. I feel like it's a personality thing. Like I enjoy Kratos. I've played with him for what, 4 games now, and I don't know. What do you think, Phoenix?
I don't think that's the direction they're taking this game. I know that's what you're concerned about. I don't think they're. I mean, I'm not saying they won't kill off Kratos in this game, but they killed him how many times now? I mean,
3 times.
yeah. So even if they kill him in this game, you think he's really going to not be a part in the next God of War? I don't
Well,
think
the
so. I mean,
well
they
the
might
big
do that
theme.
whole, pull the wool over your eye kind of thing. Maybe he's dead in this game. They start whatever the next God of War is with Atreus. You give it a third of the game, and Kratos is resurrected, and you're playing as him again. So I don't
Right,
see them ripping Kratos out of God of
yeah.
War.
Well, because a big aspect of this game, like a big thing, is the whole idea. Gamer of this game in particular, a major theme is the whole idea of prophecy
Hmm.
and does that control you, or can you determine your own destiny and stuff? And that's why the boy runs away and certain things. But I don't know. Maybe it could be interesting at the end. I'm sure that's where they're gonna go. Is that you know Kratos somehow against prophecy is able to control his destiny or something and prevent his own death or something. I'm guessing that's where it's gonna go.
I don't. I really don't think this game is going to end with Kratos being dead. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I've been wrong plenty of times. For part of it is, and I don't know how this game's going to like end, but if it's anything like the last God of War game, you go through the main narrative and then you can go around and clean up side content, right? And that's how these games have typically been structured. I don't think you could be able to go back and do certain side content without Kratos. unless they do some weird time skip and all of a sudden Atreus has the exact same capabilities that Kratos has for exploration.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about it. The game
like
mechanics
Atreus
kind of
doesn't
tie
use the
it in.
spear, he doesn't have the chains, and all those are not just combat mechanics, they're also exploration mechanics. It's how you unlock certain areas. You have to use your chains to pull a block out of the way, or you have to use a spear to go ahead and climb something. Atreus doesn't have that. So
Well,
unless
remember, no, I was gonna say, remember also, a big thing that they're playing around with is different realms and portals at the end of this game.
Mhm.
So Kratos may very well die, and Atreus portals his way to a time frame or something where Kratos is alive. They could also do that because
Well, they haven't
you
really
saw
done time. Well, I guess they've talked about it. Like Thor went back in time, and what was it? He killed some beast during Ragnarok before Ragnarok ever happened, or something.
Oh no during God of War 2, all of the when he kills the Fates in God of War 2.
You know, I'm talking about a specific instance they talked about in this game about Thor going back in time as a piece of lore during Ragnarok.
Oh, maybe.
It was a throwaway lore line. I don't remember exactly
That's
what
what
it
I
was.
meant. Time is not a new thing when it comes to God of War. Like the whole
Yeah.
fate. God of War 2 is all about like you fighting against prophecy and fate
Mhm.
and all that. I actually really like that. They actually reference God of War 2 a lot because of that aspect with this
Yeah.
game. Like when you go and talk to the Fates in this game, they're constantly referencing like stuff you did in God of War 2.
I
That
just
whole
don't
time.
think they're gonna kill off Kratos. At least
Mhm.
not permanently. Here's the thing: like certain games, you can do that. You can get away from the main character. Like even like Mass Effect, we were talking about. You could not have Shepard. You could argue it's better to keep him, but you don't have to have Shepard to technically have a Mass Effect game. Can you have a God of War game without the God of War? Like Atreus is never going to be the God of War. I don't think that even like from a mythological standpoint they would tie in
They
well.
haven't made him power wise. They haven't made it seem as though he has any sort of like he is a strong character, but he's not.
I mean, he's still a kid. I mean, they could argue. I mean, he hits adulthood and he bulks up and he starts looking like Kratos. I don't know, but he doesn't. He's just not the God of War. Like I feel like for you to have a God of War game, you got to have a character who embodies the God of War. If it's not Kratos, who's that gonna be? And here's the thing: Kratos is also like just this iconic character. Like
Mhm.
as I said, there are franchises that can get away from having a certain main character, but not God of War. I feel like for you to have a God of War game, you gotta have Kratos in there. Otherwise, it's not a God of War game. Because God of War is not just a title, that is Kratos to me. So I don't know. I think they will eventually, whenever they get past this saga, which I think it ends with Ragnarok. They're not doing a third game in this. They'll reinvent the God of War series another way. Like it will be another reboot style thing more than anything else. But I don't see Kratos being gone from this forever. But I'll find
I
out.
agree.
I'm gonna play the game after we finish this podcast, so I'll text you and let you know what
Oh
happens.
no,
At 5 o'clock in the morning.
I stayed up till
No.
4 a.m. last night trying to finish this stupid game, man. I'm so tired.
I'll finish it tomorrow night. I gotta go to bed. But yeah. I mean overall, so you're enjoying it more than 2018, you said? Because I'm enjoying it just a touch less.
The combat's what shifted it for me. Like the combat turned me off in the first game. Not that it was bad. A lot of people love the combat in the last game, 2018, and I totally get that. For me, I was a little just opposed to it just because I think of what I was expecting, so expectation bias or however you want to look at it. This game just appealed to me a little more. It gave me more flexibility with the combat. It felt faster, which encouraged me to want to explore more. I actually was more intrigued with going around trying to find little chests and whatnot. I will say that's actually somewhat of another nitpick with me just in general with these God of War games, and I think you may have mentioned this, I can't recall. I don't feel like where they go as far as like the resource collecting and the crafting is worth it in these games.
I don't think it's worth it at all. I don't think it's fun.
It's another layer to it that very rarely do I enjoy. Like I like unlocking armor from an aesthetic purpose, and it's cool if like, you pick a piece of armor, it just has like a bonus effect. Like you can do something quicker. You have an extra boon to whatever weapon you have. But this is really just like a stat boosting crafting system where it's about oh, I've got +3 cooldown on my my greaves, and I don't know. I don't feel like that's needed in this God of War game because what it leads to then when you're doing exploration and you're trying to find treasures and whatnot, more than half of the treasure chests you open is just the resource you need to upgrade your gear. So hack silver or whatever it is. And then there's of course chests that are more beneficial that give you like a new weapon upgrade or something like that. But those are fewer and further between. And I don't know, that to me, that actually brings down the exploration, at least the benefit of exploration, especially as you progress further in the game, because after you've gotten to a certain point, you've got plenty of resources. You don't need to go exploring to have more hack silver or whatever to upgrade your gear. You've got plenty of it by the time you reach the halfway point. So then why explore? Like, it kind of removes part of the incentive to go out, because you're just going to find more hack silver that now you don't really even need that much.
I've thought that ever since 2018. I remember when we talked about 2018, I was like, it's fine, but I don't, it's like Gotham Knights. It's like, why is this in, it's more noticeable in Gotham Knights, but I mean, like, for me, it's just like, I just don't think it's necessary to be here.
I agree. I think that's the other thing about 2018 that I think hurt it for me. Like, the gameplay didn't encourage me to go out in these extra little side combat missions, and then the stuff I would even earn from doing those side missions didn't seem all that beneficial. This game, at least, the combat is more intriguing or enjoyable for me, so that's helped me kind of engage with the exploration more. But even at that, the exploration, I think, could be, I don't know, adjusted so it wasn't all built around this crafting currency.
I wonder if something that's hurting my opinion of this game is the fact that I played 18 so not that long ago. Like, I played 18 like a month ago?
Yeah.
Whereas most people probably waited what was it, like a year and a half, 2 years?
It's been at least 2 years since I played it.
I remember I played through all of these games within like 2 months. So,
and that's what I was saying. Like, this game, I'm sure, feels just like a continuation of the last game.
It does.
So I'm sure you're already feeling a little kind of weary from God of Wars in general. So this is just more of that, which, for better or for worse, that may not be what you were looking for at this point. I don't know.
I still think my biggest gripe is just with a lot of the narrative. Like, not that it's bad, it's just I don't feel like they focused in on certain things that I would like for them to have focused in on more.
Like what? Like, where did you want the narrative to go? I'm curious. Like, I like, for the most part, where the narrative is going. I don't agree with every character decision, but I've liked the narrative.
I was kind of hoping more like again, kind of hitting back on the fact that I don't really, the Atreus character you were saying is kind of what was the word you used? Oh shoot, I forgot.
Overly naive,
overly naive, and just he makes kind of dumb decisions sometimes. I feel like I would have preferred he had gotten taken against his will, and then you just have to like go full on Kratos. And I mean, I'm guessing maybe. I mean, we haven't finished the game, so maybe they're still leading up to that.
You have a couple of moments that will shift that, I will say, because I'm like 2 chapters ahead of you, and it does give you some of that. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's hopeful to hear.
That whole time that Atreus was in Asgard, I was like tentatively on stream. I'm like, it's going that way. Kratos has got to mount war by himself on Asgard. Now, granted, maybe that's unrealistic, but dude, he was doing that in God of War 3. Like, he was just running up in there. I also have to mention that I saw me getting mad at some rando on Twitter, but basically here. But I saw somebody on Twitter said that God of War Ragnarok had the best opening for a video game ever, or the craziest opening, and I'm like, dude, did you play God of War 3? Like, that game starts off with you on the back of Gaia and the Titans, ascending, you know, trying to heading towards Zeus and like 4 other gods like that.
I'll be honest. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I've honestly forgotten how this one started. I know there was a sled chase at the beginning. Is that what they're talking about?
Well, I'm assuming they're taking into account the Thor battle, but you don't fight Thor until an hour into the game.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't really look at that as the intro. I mean,
no,
it's within, I guess, the intro chapters, but
I just thought it was like a lot of these PlayStation fans, they have like,
careful.
Not just them.
Watch
not
what
just
you
them.
say. You're gonna start some wars, Chaz.
not just them. People on both sides. People have very, very quick recency bias, and it's like, dude, the game came out 4 days ago, and it already has the greatest opening to a game you've ever played. It's like,
I feel like there's a lot of hyperbole and whatnot. Like, people are overly hyped about this, and the game does deliver in a lot of ways. But I have been hearing a lot of people say this is their favorite game ever, and I'm just like, really? Like, it's a good. Go ahead.
It was like that with Breath of the Wild. It's like, dude, I really enjoyed Breath of the Wild.
I think could deserve it though, because there's more to Breath of the Wild than just like a narrative.
God of War fans and Zelda fans.
I don't know. I mean, I can understand. I mean, okay, so to be fair, all this is, you know, based upon someone's personal preference and perspective. It's all subjective. So, I mean, if this
Hmm.
is your game of your lifetime, the best game ever made, perfectly fine. I'm not going to come and, you know, argue with you over that point. But I think it's hard to make that decision. I think you're right. There's a lot of recency bias, and there's a lot of hype around this game. And to be fair, this game does deliver. So I think you
Hmm.
have
Oh, it's
that
fun. It's a great game.
satisfaction, and it does keep you going. But I think over time, people are gonna, I think, get a little more neutered or a little more subdued on their feelings about this in general. I think there's gonna be a lot more favor too. I think brought up with God of War 2018. I think a lot of people are gonna start preferring that one over this one, but we'll see.
I will still say, like, I feel like the old style God of War games, more particular three, is more crazy. It's a much larger scale. It's more grandiose. These games are better and more tightly strewn in terms of narrative and plot. I feel like they're totally different styled games, but like again, if you're, that's why I was saying like if you're talking craziness, it's like, dude,
Hmm.
you, God of War 3 is like ultimate craziness where you're like beating people's heads up over rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like
I think the
I don't know.
gameplay, honestly, at least for me, is just more fun in those original three games. Like I would play those old games for the gameplay any day over playing these new games. However, I think the narrative and the story in the new games are head and shoulders above anything we
Yeah.
had in the old
Oh,
games. So,
mhm.
but that's one of those things. Like I will play this God of War game, I will finish it. I may never come back and play it again, or if so, it's going to be
I'm glad you brought that
years to
up
play it.
because I don't think these 2018 in this game, due to the length for me, are going to be games I replay for a very long time. Like God of War 3 is a game where like I can go up there like under 10 hours, all three of the
You can
original
beat them in a
games.
weekend. You've had your fun with it. It was fast paced, and I don't know, the gameplay loop just kind of is a quicker kind of adrenaline boost as you run through it. These games
Hmm.
drag, not
Oh
necessarily in a
yeah.
bad way. I mean, they're doing it to kind of set the pacing for these big narrative payoffs, but they're slower. They definitely bring things to a halt to have some cinematic moments or to set up a new character, and that's great the
Hmm.
first time when you're really trying to soak in all the story and all the narrative. But once you've done that, unless you just this is your favorite story ever, it's going to feel old the second time and the third time, and more so the more often you play it.
I will say my last thought. I did it again, spoilers, but one of the last things I did was you have a battle with Heimdall, how
Hmm.
that kind of happens and go like I do really enjoy that whole um back and forth of like Kratos trying to fight against his own nature, trying
Yeah.
to fight against his past and everything, but ultimately it comes down to like, he like he doesn't want to be the person he was before, but ultimately his abilities and his power is like only good for one thing. Like and it's sad because he's trying to fight against nature and be a good father and teach his son the right things, but ultimately his strongest asset as a person is his power. And it's like the way he like deals with Heimdall, where he's like, you know what I mean. You played that section, but like I don't know. I really enjoy that back and forth between, again, Kratos is a great character. I love his personality and kind of what he tries to stand for, but he just he can't get away from his past.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Just out of curiosity, and you may have answered this question, but thus far, what was your favorite battle in the game so far? Like big set piece kind of battle moment.
Of this game,
Hmm.
I really enjoyed the wolf battle
Okay,
with
I was curious if you got to that part yet. I couldn't remember. The
the
big
wolf battle
wolf.
was the big wolf. That was pretty fun.
That's probably my favorite.
Um, that was pretty great. I will say I feel like the big battles were slightly better in 2018
I don't know if they've
so
had as
far.
many in this game. Like there was the I don't
The
remember
the
the name. The
serpent, the tree
serpent dragon
serpent,
thing. Yeah, the big wolf. And really beyond that, you've had like a Thor battle here and there. You've had
the
Heimdall.
Heimdall. Yeah.
Really, is there anything else besides like some little mini boss characters?
No, I don't think
Like there's a lot of
so. I mean,
combat
the
in this game, but
Thor.
there's not a lot of like big set piece combat moments. Which
I
now that I
feel
think
like the
it's
wolf
kind of
the wolf
interesting.
battle is probably the most entertaining
Yeah. I like the way that one
section.
ends. I won't spoil that one because that is a fun moment. Because it kind of brings a couple of things back in full circle. But that's a fun one. That's one of the highlights of the game so far.
My low light is definitely that whole thing on giant planet. I was taken out of the game
We didn't
so
talk
much.
about that. Forgot about that. Are you still hanging in there, gamer? I know you haven't really said a whole lot.
I know. I feel bad. We've been
I'm
talking
just
about...
listening.
That's fair. Well, tell us to shut up if we're going too long.
Last thing, we'll talk about Giant Planet real quick.
Jotunheim.
Jotunheim. I was taken aback by everything going on there, and I felt like it went on way too long, man. That whole section was almost like 2 hours, where you're playing as
Didn't feel that
Atreus
long
alone.
to me. I don't know.
On stream, I think it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
It might have been. I didn't feel quite as negative about it like you did. And granted, I think you have a pretty...
forgot that was another battle. The giant lady.
Oh
giant
yeah.
grandma.
See, I liked that giant battle. I mean, it was...
I didn't like that battle.
It was different. Like, it wasn't the same kind of battle like the giant wolf battle, but it was different. I don't know. And I don't know. I enjoyed it well enough. I don't know. I know you probably have the more consensus opinion on that section. Most people, from what I could tell, didn't like it. I didn't mind it too much, partially because I was very interested in that narrative. I wanted some payoff for who Loki was and his prophecy, and this was the first opportunity you had to kind of get any feedback or payoff from it. And you do. You get some of that. I do think it drags as far as you have to get on that stupid yak one too many times. The y'all or whatever it was.
That whole section, I just felt taken out of the game during that whole section, and I don't know. It just felt out of place. I mean, I understand some of that stuff is a part of Norse mythology, but it felt more like Grimm's fairy tale,
Yeah.
with like, I don't know.
I think what helped is that was the first chance I really got to play with Atreus a fair amount and kind of learn his moveset. And I really liked his kit. Like, we already talked about it a little bit, but I have enjoyed playing as Atreus' his moveset. So this gave me a lot of time to do that. Yeah, it has some slow pacing moments where it's just exposition going through a swamp on this yak. So yes, that's not the most exciting thing in the world, but I was down for it just to kind of have the moments where I could fight as Atreus a few more times.
Yeah, I just remembered one last thing. I thought Thor was Josh Brolin the whole time, and I looked it up. It is not Josh Brolin. I don't know. I just thought that voice actor was that. Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah, your video froze.
Yeah.
Oh, can I draw on your face? Hold on.
Do it.
Hold on.
I don't have
Draw my
a
face.
pen or something.
his face.
Oh.
Hurry before it moves.
I don't have anything. Oh no, I wasn't prepped
shoot.
for this. Oh, where's my my hat? So I can put a hat. Oh, now his face is gone.
Oh,
Wah, wah.
man.
All right, well,
I'm
welcome
still
back
here.
to the Phoenix Man podcast.
My camera's been doing that for some reason.
Oh, he's kind of back.
Some of my streams it freezes.
He's darkened up.
But
Ooh.
shoot, what was I talking about just now? I totally forgot.
Josh Brolin not being in this game.
I thought it was Josh Brolin the whole time. Turns out it's not.
The voice, I can hear that. I can see where you get that from.
And did you notice Ellie? Ellie as the one dwarf lady? It was totally Ellie from Borderlands.
Oh,
The
yeah.
the one blacksmith.
I
It was
thought
total.
that. I mean, I wasn't sure if I was just, thinking.
I didn't look it up, but to me it sounded just like
It's
Ellie.
hard because a lot of people can do that same style of, hey there, what's going on, kind of Southern country kind of deal. So I'm not sure if it was.
I'm
just
gonna
someone with
assume it was. I'm gonna assume it was.
It could have been. I don't know. It might just be a very convenient similarity, but I don't know. But the voice acting has been really good.
It's been really good. All right.